Welcome to your life story, a space to explore the journey from survival to authenticity. I'm Sajine, and here we dive into the raw truths of breaking free from the expectations we've grown up with, rediscovering our voices, and thriving after life's challenges. But this isn't just about my story, it's about life, from relationships and self-discovery to the messy, beautiful questions we all face. No topic is off limits here. So if you're ready to embrace courage, healing, and living life on your own terms, you're in the right place. Let's connect. Let's grow. Well, welcome everyone. I'm so happy that you're here with me today. Before we get started, just a quick disclaimer. Before we dive in, this podcast is for informational and inspirational purposes only. I'm not a licensed therapist, counselor, or medical professional, and the content shared here is based on personal experiences and insights. If you're facing significant challenges, please seek the support of a qualified professional. Remember, your journey is unique, and you deserve the care and guidance that's right for you. Welcome. I am ecstatic for today's topic, and it was one of my number one things that I had on my Instagram. The title is, Did you ever stay hoping they'd change? Choosing yourself when everyone says stay. You know, I love to see you guys back here because this is a place where we learn to live more honestly, heal more bravely, and choose ourselves with courage and grace. Today we're talking about something millions of us have done. Staying and hoping. And this time they'll change. Whether it's a spouse, a parent, a boss, or a leader in our church, we've been taught to forgive, to tolerate, to hope. But what happens when staying costs you your peace, your health, your sanity, your faith? Today, we'll name the reasons we stay, dismantle the lies that keep us there, and practice a real, gentle pathway out toward worth, safety, and the life God calls you to. And if you are not a fellow Christian, I'm okay with that as well. I respect you. We'll still find ways to get you out. If you're driving, go ahead and just, listen and take a deep breath. Make sure it's something that you want to hear on your path, to another state, or if you're going to work, or if you're going home, or if you're just going out there for a little bit of fun. It is the weekend. So, and if you're at home, go ahead, put your feet up for a minute, have some tea, your coffee, or your energy drink, or maybe even a yummy smoothie. Either one's fine. Let's get into this topic. First, thank you for clicking on this one. This episode was a number one this week for a reason. It hits deep. I know so many of you have sat in the quiet of your kitchen or in church pews asking the same questions I did. If I'm kind, if I'm patient, if I love harder, won't they finally see me? We've been taught that forgiveness is always unconditional, that endurance equals holiness, that if you leave, you're the one who failed. Those messages are everywhere. Family, friends, faith, communities, workplaces. They can be loving at the core, be patient, forgive, but they can also be weaponized to keep you small and unsafe. So today I want to offer compassion and clarity, not condemnation. You're not stupid for hoping. You're not weak for wanting love, but you deserve the truth. My experience in this. I want to tell you a story, a short, honest memory from my life. There was a time when I would walk into a room and shape myself around emotions of one person. I'd silence my laugh when they were quiet. I'd postpone joy when they needed comfort. I told myself I'll be patient. I'll be empathetic. I'll love them back to themselves. But slowly, painfully, I noticed the cost. I became anxious in a way that felt normal. My sleep changed. I apologized more than I spoke up. I began to believe that his anger meant I'd failed. My church friends said, "Endure, you'll be rewarded." My family whispered, "Marriage is hard." My boss said, "We work with personalities." Each message, well-meaning or not, stacked on top of each other until I stopped being able to hear my own heartbeat. The tipping point for me wasn't one dramatic event. It was 1,000 small ones. Being belittled in public, being told I was too sensitive, being made responsible for someone else's mood. And the cruelest lie they fed me was that if I left, I was the one who had sinned, who had destroyed a sacred thing. So I started to pay attention. I started to test reality. I sought help. I found out that boundaries aren't unloving, they're lifelines. I started building small bricks of truth into a tower I could stand on, not so I would wield it against others, but so that I was steady for myself. If this story hits you, sit with that truth. You did the best you could with the tools you had. You are learning. That's the beginning of healing. Why we stay, the lies we believe, and how to spot truth. Let's unpack why we stay. I'll name 5 reasons, and then I'll give you practical signs to look for. Why we stay. Hope. The belief that love will fix them. Oh man, I believe that so deeply. To me, I thought, if I loved them, I would love them out of their pain, and that something would click and they would see the love that I had for them. Now I know that the only one who can give them that type of love, and if they accept it, is God. I cannot put that type of pressure onto myself because I can't change anything. The only person I can change is myself. Identity. We've been taught our worth is tied to our relationship status or our role. What? The good wife? The dutiful child? The faithful member? I remember if I was not the good wife, then what was I? Was I just leading a man around? Because they say some pretty horrible things about us women if we're just in a relationship with a man, And I was always the dutiful child because I had to be the good child. I had to show that I was in a loving family. Faithful member. I had to show it because if not, they come at you like fire ants, I guess you would say, if you are not a good member. And it's the same at work. If you don't show you're a good teammate, then you are not a good person either. So things like that are really painful. And I want you guys to know that we weren't meant to live this way. It's something that, we need to do, But now that I'm learning, I'm going to do this, The other thing is fear of being judged, of losing financial security, of hurting kids, of being labeled. The thing is you get judged by what you've seen and the decision you want to make. And then the fear of losing financial security. I think this is an important one for women. I never thought about it until now, but women should have their own finances, their own money, their own security. Why? Because if anything happens, whether it is somebody who's evil, who's hurting you, or if your spouse passes away, you need to be able to help guide yourself and your children out of this. And what better way? Because the thing is, we're taught, if you can't do it, then you need to marry right away because then that man will help support you. And I don't think that's okay. I really don't. Because number one, I don't think a man should have that huge of responsibility to pick up after somebody else and try to be happy with that. No, don't get me wrong. If the individual is happy to do it, and there's consent, mutual respect, then I'm for it. But I believe women should have their own money. They should have their own bank account, and you should be able to be strong. Gaslighting. When someone convinces you that you're overreacting or that it's your fault. Boy, that one hits hard, because so many times we get told that, oh, it was your fault. You weren't womanly enough. You weren't beautiful enough. You weren't enticing enough. You weren't clean enough. I mean, the list can go on, because that's the things that we get told. And then spiritual pressures, messages from faith communities that emphasize sacrifice without safety. I remember many times they said, if Jesus was abused, who are you to be better than not to suffer along beside him? And they said that basically you had to be a martyr, because God would see that and he would bless you when you would go to heaven for being such a good Christian, for enduring. So, because you never know that maybe after decades or half a century or century of them being with you, they'll come to Jesus. And no, I found out that that's not okay, because the Bible says, again, do not throw your pearls to swine, right? And that you need to take care of your heart, And even Jesus moved away from people who were abusive. Why? Because he knows people have the right to choose, and we all have the right to go for safety and boundaries. And I want you to always know that. So how to spot the truth, 10 small signs. This isn't a season, 10 small signs. This isn't a season of change. Repeated harmful behavior that hasn't changed after clear boundaries were set. This one was notorious for me. After I spent exhausting hours talking it out, because that's how I was taught, the boundaries were always bulldozed every time. And I thought maybe this person doesn't understand it, but now I understand is that they were just happy seeing you try to prove your point, and them not really ever wanting to do anything to make things better, or explanations without accountability. They apologize, but nothing changes. I remember the words very clearly. Well, what do you want me to say? What do you want me to do? And I'd be like, I want you to apologize for what you did. Oh, I'm sorry. I was like, no, I even knew that was not genuine. I was like, you're saying it so you can move on. And the scary thing is that these people would say, yeah, that's what I want. Let's move on. And I was like, that is horrible. And it was especially horrible when I had it from my ex. I was like, you are a terrible person, because you show that you're holier than thou to everybody. You keep me imprisoned by the expectations that everybody wants from me, and yet you're willing not to do anything. I remember very clearly saying, if you used all this energy for bad and instead you would do for good, we would have the best marriage in the world. And he would pause and say, nope, and walked away. It is scary to see that. But nobody's going to see it, because they always put their beautiful, awesome, helpful self in front of others. You feel more anxious. You feel small or silenced around them. I am so talkative now. Before I was silent, I was literally smaller. I'd crouch, not get in anybody's way. I was always anxious, and I'm not that way anymore. And people who, even my family, they see me, they're like, oh my gosh, they're like, we never knew You had this in you. And I'm like, yeah, that's me. I've always had it, but I silenced it. You are made responsible for their emotions. Oh my gosh. Anytime they were upset, you had to remedy it because they were angry. You're given conditional love, affection only when you comply. Oh my gosh, that was brutal. I mean, the way that I was taught that if you did everything I want, then you would get an inkling of love. It hurts because I'll never forget trying to hold his hand while going in a parking lot. And he turned around and he said, "Oh, now you want my hand." And I was like, what in the world are you talking about? I had no idea that really he didn't want anybody knowing that I was his wife. But then when I got home, there was a, "Come here, sit next to me, I'll give you hugs." But it wasn't because he wanted to love me, it's because he wanted to use me. You know, your sense of self erodes. You stop wanting your hobbies and your friends. You know, the sad thing is, being with this individual, I never had friends. It was not acceptable for me to have anybody outside of him. It was just him, him, him. And if I even had even a hobby, you should have seen the ways that he treated me when I was doing my exercises at home, because heaven forbid I couldn't go to the gym because then I might be looking for another man. That was his thought. And the way that he would look at me at home when I'd be working out, he would look at me with such disdain that he didn't want me to get healthy or happy. He just wanted me to be working like a slave, sad, and just doing whatever he wanted. It was terrible. There's the control over time, money, mobility, or relationships. The time, it had to be, you get the kids up, you drop them off at school, at daycare, you go to work, and then you come straight home after you picked up the kids, get dinner ready, cleaning, make sure kids have done their homework, make sure the yard's clean, make sure laundry is done. I mean, spick and span everything. And then when I come home, you need to be able to have my dinner ready. And then after that, you need to sit on the sofa until 11 p.m. after you put the children to bed and, give them baths and everything. And then you have to sit here, and now you have to be here with me. Money, oh my goodness, I couldn't even use my money because he was like, "Oh, you're using my money. You just want me for my money." And he would tell people that I was just a gold digger. And I'm like, well, first of all, if you want to be a gold digger, then they have to have gold. He had nothing. It was my money. Mobility, I couldn't drive anywhere because he would be calling me, asking me where I was at all times. And he would count for the time it would take for me to get back and around. And I had to be quick and fast. Your community makes you choose loyalty to them over your safety. How many times was I told, "Oh no, you got to be a good wife," and it put me in danger? So many times. And even to this day, my safety is not assured because of how I have to live. They minimize, deny, or rewrite your experiences. Oh my gosh, I was told I was just a whiner, that I'm just a woman. I'll never forget when he told the police officer that I was just being a douchebag and that all he wanted was to sleep and I wouldn't let him, when in actuality he had called me because he was attempting to unalive himself and I was just trying to get help. They deny so many things that they did. "Oh, you're crazy. I'm not flirting with her. It's all in your head. You're just insecure. We have to be good Christians." They rewrite any type of experiences that you know that you saw, but they tell you, "No, you're just crazy." You are told your call to keep trying is evidence of faith when actually keeping you is trapped. I've been in situations where I went to groups where they told me I had to keep going, had to use my faith, and actually they were just keeping me trapped in the abuse. That's something that I don't want you guys to do, because you need to choose you. You need to choose your safety. After you have separated yourself from that toxicity, you will actually start seeing what is best for you, and you can start learning to trust yourself, and you can start making decisions that will help you to become stronger in this world. And I think that's important for you to do. It's okay to hope for change, but hope without action is a religion of waiting. Real change shows up with consistent patterns, external accountability, and real cost to the person who harmed you. If the change is only when they're trying to save the relationship, well, let's say save their face, that's performance, not transformation. Now, how do we test whether someone is genuinely changing? 2 markers: consistency and transparency. Are they consistent over months? Do they welcome accountability, not resent it? Do they apologize and then ask for help? Or do they insist you're the problem? Change is messy, yes, but genuine change does not require secrecy or control. The thing is so many times they want something and it's just not going to work that way, and I want people to know that that's just not going to work. You have to be strong and you have to keep moving forward. And so I bring you some practical steps, gentle ways to start walking away or rebuilding. If you're feeling the ache that comes with staying, here are some gentle practical steps you can try right now. They are just just some instructions. They're bricks to steady you as you decide. Small boundary, big effect. Start with one small boundary this week. Example: I will not be spoken to that way in my home. If the person crosses it, take the agreed calm consequence, leave the room, end the call, pause, contact. 2, name it out loud to someone safe. Tell one person you trust what you experience. Name reduces shame. 3, create a fact file. Write down dates, incidents, and feelings. This clarifies patterns versus pain. 4, test accountability. Ask them to join counseling or to allow a trusted friend or pastor to speak in the situation. If they refuse accountability, be cautious. And this one is a bit tricky. I don't believe in the family counseling because I think it's individual, and it has to be in the trauma base, because if not, they will use it against you. Please be careful. 5, protect finances and logistics. Start tracking your finances. Know your important documents are. Create an emergency plan, even if you never use it. 6, reclaim small joys. Start one hobby again. Call one friend. Rehearse being lovable apart from them. Excuse me. 7, set spiritual boundaries. If your faith community is shaming you, find a leader who values safety and truth. Scriptures honors justice and dignity. 8, practice no in low-stake moments. Strengthen your boundary muscles where the risk is small. 9, professional help. Find a therapist or a support group experiencing trauma or relational abuse. 10, give yourself permission to grieve. Walking away often looks like death and birth. Grief for the life you imagined, relief for the life you can build. None of these steps require you to rush. They require you to be honest. And I would like to continue my other half of this podcast, the following week, because I have so much in here that I want to be able to give and provide to you. And I want to make sure that we can take our time to continue this whole process, because it's very important for me, for you to know your value. So I want to say that I will be talking about this the next following Sunday, because like I said, I want to take time. This is one of the best topics for me of the week on my Instagram, and I want to be there for my community. You guys are wonderful, and I want to make sure that you're here with me and that we can celebrate our healing journey. You know, you're important. So, with all of this, I'd like to thank you so much for joining me on today's episode of Your Life Story with Jean. I hope it gave you something to think about, feel, or explore on your journey. Excuse me. If this episode resonated with you, I'd love to hear your thoughts. Feel free to share it with someone who might need it or reach out to connect. And if you're looking for deeper insights, I will be offering some more information about, my clarity sessions, guided meditations, and even journal prompts, because I believe this is important. Let me know if there's anything that I can help you with. Thank you so much.